you need to stop using supply run contracts to level up your weapons and plunder. It is not the fastest method. You are wasting your time from the majority of the game. Let's jump into why. What's going on, guys? It's Smudger here, and yes, today we are going to talk about some quick XP methods, specifically for weapon XP as opposed to kind of general XP and leveling up, because Cold War guns take forever to level up. We know this, so this is the quickest way to do it, and part of it does include the tedious supply run contracts. But you would have noticed, I think most people have that have tried this method, that it is a very well known method by this point. If you go onto any video that says how to level up guns quickly, how to level up, you know, your character quickly, it is the supply run method contract. And it works, don't get me wrong, it does give you a lot of XP, but it gives everyone a lot of XP, and everyone on that map that is using that method are just going to eat up those supply run contracts. Not to mention the seemingly rapid rise of people who like to sit around these contracts and just beam anyone that comes to get them. Not to mention the people who just take a lot of glee in shooting down your vehicles when you're trying to use them, whether it be a helicopter or a ground-based one. There's a quicker way to do it, or at least a more efficient way, especially heading on from kind of mid to late game in Plunder. So by all means, go nuts, do your supply run contracts. You'll probably get 2 or 3 done before you start to run out, or before you have to start to kind of move across to either end of the map just to find one. And at that point, you start to waste your time. And when you're wasting time, when you're trying to be as efficient as possible, it's not a good thing. You need to find a new way to do it. And that, surprisingly enough, is recon contracts. Now bear with me here, because I know I said that supply runs were tedious and recons aren't much better. Recons do take a little bit longer in terms of the objective and getting that XP, but nobody picks them up. They are plentiful for the most part. You know, you might run out towards the end, and we'll get to that a bit later about what will happen then, especially if it's a particularly long game of Plunder and no one's really hit that $1 million mark, and so the game just keeps going on, because it is a 25-minute match at times, and that can be a bit tedious, especially if you're just doing contracts that entire time. But recons are, I don't want to say like the new supply run contract, because supply runs are definitely easier, but they are so plentiful around the map that they can keep you going for, you know, say from 5 minutes into the map through to 15-20 minutes into the map. And for the most part, people ignore them. You know, there's not a lot of action around them. People will very rarely go out of their way to hunt down doing someone a recon, especially in Plunder. They're not particularly high value in Warzone either. But you'll see in this clip that I was literally just late in Storage Town, one of the most hotly contested areas of the map in Plunder, and people were just leaving me be. They just did not want to deal with someone that was doing a recon, and I don't know why that was. Maybe I just got quite a passive lobby, or, you know, a kind lobby where people didn't want to bother people just trying to level up weapons. But I did this a couple of times over a few different matches, and both, I think I got 2 or 3 in there, and both of them they just kind of left me be. They don't really want to fight anyone that doesn't really want to fight them, unless of course they are just clapping people out the sky. But for the most part, recons are left alone, both in being picked up and when you're doing them. They're fairly easy to do. Of course, if you've got a full squad in there, you can jump on and they'll speed through far quicker than just lonely old me doing them by myself. But even then, it didn't really take a massive amount of time. And it meant that I could essentially combine, you know, the initial supply run contract, so I think I had 3 or 4 done in most of these games, and then I switched over to recons when the supply runs were either, you know, in the middle of storage, or in the middle of a really hotly contested area, or they were already all the way over at Summit and I was like down in Promenade. It just wasn't worth my time, just to make sure that I was still kind of farming in that XP. And so I just hopped on. I must have done about 5 or 6 recons in the time. Pretty easy, pretty, you know, it wasn't exactly the most exciting gameplay in the world, but it got the job done. And you'll see that I started off with this ISO at like a level 7 or 8 or something like that, and it ended up being like a level 22 by the end. So super fast method, super efficient. Just in one game it leveled up like 15 levels. Obviously that will slow down as you get into the higher levels, but for the most part it's still fairly rapid. And if there's a specific, you know, gun that you're trying to unlock to get an attachment, maybe one of the silencers, this is a really easy way to do it, especially if you don't have the full Cold War game bought. Because I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of the methods I do put out for leveling up weapons is Cold War exclusive, so I am trying to get a bit better at that, trying to give you guys some more options, because I know not everyone does have the game. And now, I know I said that at times recons can also become a bit sparse, especially if you've been super efficient within the game and you don't want to really stray from an area you know is clear. And that, I say, go pick up a scavenger. You're probably only going to get 1 or 2 done by the time you get to this point within the game. And it keeps XP kind of flowing through. It keeps, you know, everything kind of ticking over nicely. You're not just wandering around the wilderness getting shot at by people trying to find a recon or, you know, a lonely supply run contracts. What I will say is I did notice towards the end of games, supply run contracts are popping up. I don't know if it's a glitch, but in areas where I'd scoured kind of the area and I knew it was safe, they'd then pop up kind of very late game. We're talking, you know, in the final 2-3 minutes. So I did manage to get a couple done right at the end. I don't know if that's a glitch because I've never seen that happen before, but do keep an eye out for it in areas that you've kind of frequented before within the map. They did seem to pop up, but other than that, just grab a scavenger, have a nice time doing it. It's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. I came out with like 25k XP each game, which of course aids towards the battle pass, aids towards your general level progression and your weapon level progression, as well as making sure you've got those double XP tokens on. And that is where I'm going to leave it today, guys. If you did enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to find your way back. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.